If required, if you want to talk to me, Om Prakash, for till we start, you just call me on the phone. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. See you in a bit.
Absolutely.
So what's a live exercise without some snafus? Uh, what was happening was we our welcome video stopped here and it continued to play. So there's a delay in the LinkedIn live, right? So it was continuing to play there. Hey, Om Prakash, welcome to this session. Thank you so much for making time. I'm really excited about what we are going to do today. I know your presentation, and I'm excited to share it with everybody. Um,
Pleasure,
yeah.
pleasure,
Thank you.
pleasure to be here, Subhanjan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate. I'll give a quick intro to the series, what we are trying to do. These are early days. This is the third session. So we are slowly sort of getting the act together. The first session, we just did it on a Zoom link. The second, we switched to Run the World as a platform, and then we started live streaming. And that also, we had some challenges. It was delayed by the time we got started, and so on. Uh, Today looks like we are pretty much on time, and all the streams are live, so that's good. um,
Excellent.
Basically, yeah, yeah. Um, Basically what we are trying to do is address the possibly the biggest problem in B2B sales, that is identifying the right prospects to engage with. There's a lot being spoken, right? So the fact is that all the intent data that is available, all the outreach, all the stuff that we track today, supposedly are pointing us towards the 3% which is ready to buy today. We are completely ignoring 97%, and that's why I'm so excited that Om Prakash is here, because his area of specialization is account-based marketing, which by definition means that you need to nurture before you can do anything with that. I mean, you still may not be able to sell, but the first step is to get engagement, and that's what he's here to talk about. Um, to sort of continue the thread of thought, finding lead is the core problem. I mean, make no mistake, it's not closing. And when I do my bit of the presentation, uh, uh, you will see I have some thoughts about that. But the point is that closing means you have already actually traversed a lot of distance. You know the needs, you have sort of figured out what the needs are, whether you can fulfill that, and possibly you are now either talking of price or talking of some additional stuff, ongoing service and support and so on and so forth. I mean, it's really not the problem. The problem is, how do you get there? You cannot get there unless you have understood who you are going to do this engagement with, and that's
Correct.
the issue, right? I mean, and there is a lot of gurus out there who say that do more cold calling, do robocalls, and I'm nothing against them, but the fact is that there is absolutely no silver bullet. I mean, even if somebody tells you that there is a silver bullet, do this and you are done. Do technology and you are done. No, I don't think that is true. And I speak to a lot of people. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you would know that I do talk to a lot of people who matter, a lot of people who know. Most names that you think of, I possibly speak with them. And in a one-on-one, they all agree that what they talk about is one path, but by no means it is a silver bullet. Okay, so we wanted to do these series of webinars. We actually, I'm really looking for a better word, because the idea is that I would want inputs and interaction, not in terms of asking questions, but actually sharing knowledge and experiences from the folks who join in, because we are all colleagues, we are all learning. I mean, just because I'm hosting this webinar doesn't make me purveyor of all knowledge, by no means.
Correct.
My objective is to discover what's going on, what's working, what can be done for everybody, right? um, so that is the idea of the sessions, but it's sort of not there yet, because it's not that hundreds of people are participating and so on. We're trying to figure out how to make it more interactive. One of the things we want to add, if we have enough people, is a one-on-one networking opportunity. We can do this on this platform, so we might as well do that. So people can quickly meet each other and discuss stuff and maybe even connect and say, okay, hey, we'll catch up later and so on. So, but again, as I said, these are all which things which will happen gradually. Uh, and I'm extremely hopeful that we'll continue this dialogue. I'm also doing some one-on-one uh, discussions with experts, which I will bring in, and we will release those apart from the webinars. So, in future, we will announce the list of possible guests for those discussions which are not live, but you can still ask questions, and we will pose those questions to those experts. Um, that brings me to my guest expert today, Om Prakash Karuppanan. I know him for a while. We met, believe me or not, face to face, all with all the pandemic and all the stuff going on, and it is so heartening that we could have him here today. Om Prakash is the founder of Fuego Systems. It's an account-based marketing consultancy and services. So this is something which he specializes in. He helps B2B companies in the US primarily with their account-based marketing, programmatic advertising, and lead generation. He develops account-based marketing strategies and drip sequences that generate sales qualified leads, right? Which means these are folks who are actually considering buying. His areas of expertise include go-to-market strategy, demand orchestration, account-based marketing strategy. He has worked for over a decade for several Fortune 500 companies in the US, including GE, Time Warner Cable, Capgemini, and several others for their IT solutions. This, combined with his experience in marketing, helped him start Fuego Systems, a B2B marketing agency that helps create ABM companies campaigns for IT and SaaS companies, right? So I think we have a great session ahead of us, and I'm really excited. Prakash, without further ado, come on and let's hear what you have to say today. Welcome.
Sure, sure. Welcome. Thank you so much, Subhanjan. Thank you for your warm introduction. Very kind of you. So, without taking much time, I will directly go ahead and share my screen. Just give me a minute. All right. So, I'm sure you're able to see my screen, correct? Okay, so lead to close series. I'm very glad, happy that you have invited me for the lead to close series. And when you told me about the problem, I understood exactly what people are looking for. So I would want to run over a small deck, just around 3 to 5 slides, not more than that. So I'll quickly explain where the problem is. See, a lot of people do these common mistakes, and I want to highlight the common mistakes first. What people do, right? Most of the companies in SMEs or enterprise companies, especially in the US market, people directly spend the money on demand capture. So for people who don't understand what demand capture is, it basically means all your budgets you spend on paid advertising, your SEO efforts, your email marketing efforts, anything that could help you jumpstart on converting some leads. So that is demand capture. So people spend a lot of their money only on demand capture, ignoring the demand creation. So what this does is, it reduces your win rate, and also uh, that's when people start realizing why my leads are not closing. So what happens? A lot of my clients, when they come to us, they say, "Hey, I have a amazing top of the funnel. We have around our SDRs make 400 or 500 calls each month, but not even one or two convert from them." So then I go back and ask, "What is those 400, 500? Uh, how do you them as leads. So that's when we started reverse engineering why it is not converting. So spending all the money on demand capture, and normally people skip these high intent buyers, without engaging them, right? So people normally want to, you might have noticed a lot of emails. You, me, all of us keep getting emails every day, directly pitching. When we accept a LinkedIn connection, the next message is a pitching message. We send an email to somebody, the very first email is pitching email, right? So when somebody is just said hi, you directly go ahead and start pitching people, right? So um, that's also another common mistake people do. The mindset problem, right? Most CXOs I've seen, especially in the US being the most advanced country in terms of marketing, still there is a mindset problem, I believe, with most CXOs. They still stick to the traditional process, right? They want to just rely on cold calling. They want to rely on email outreach, and they say, okay, how many leads is converting? How many leads? How many BDRs? So people assume they can increase the volume of MQLs and the volume of leads will also increase, but that's not true anymore. It used to work. It used to work all for all of us until few years back, but the buyer is very educated recently. If you have noticed, our B2B buyers know more about our product or services than we think they know. So the buyer is well informed, and there is no six-step email sequence which will convert them, especially if there's a big ticket size like a six-figure buyer. They're not going to fall into six-step email sequence or a direct cold call, and nobody is going to write a check and say, okay, fine, here's my money. And pitching accounts too early, that's a major mistake people do. People assume, MQLs are always buyer ready, as Subhanjan, you rightly mentioned in your introduction, right? That most of the time only 3% of the your audience are active to buy. 97% of the audience are casual shoppers, right? And only few percent, and most lot of research have told this to us. Hardly 3% of the buyers are very active. So, and you pitch too early, you're going to miss. You know, they're going to quickly. I have written a post on LinkedIn also. When you pitch too early, people are quickly going to friend zone you. When people friend zone you, then it's very difficult to go ahead and set up a sales meeting again with them. So pitching too early is also another mistake. And another common mistake I've seen, even with big enterprise companies, right? Every form fill is an MQL and is immediately assigned to a BDR. Any form fill, an ebook download, a white paper download, a demo request, or they treat it like a demo request. Every form fill. So each and every form fill that comes in as an MQL is assigned to BDR on a round robin, and BDRs keep calling. Either they pick up the phone, don't pick up the phone, doesn't matter. They call, they try to convert, it doesn't convert. So that's another mistake. And you have request demo all over your landing pages, your emails, your email signatures, your pages. Everywhere you have request demo, and nobody requests a demo. Right? So and also demo is gated, so badly. Once you request demo, also you pass across so many gatekeepers to just see the demo, and people don't want that. Also, that is also a big friction. People are happy even if they have a small snippet of the demo, just 30 seconds, 2 minutes, something small. People are happy, and they don't want to go behind multiple gatekeepers just to see a demo. And switching on every email, that is also a very common mistake. So a lot of people do. Every email you send, it should be for building the relationship and engaging the prospect, not to convert them. So every email you have a call to action. People want to pitch and say, hey, you can request a demo here, you can click here, or there's a common call to action. Would you like to jump on a quick call sometime next week, sometime Thursday, sometime end of this week? Here's a link to my calendar. And nobody wants to do that, and hardly people want to jump on a quick call with you. So we're not Elon Musk, who's emailing people asking for an immediate meeting. Okay, can jump on a quick call, and nobody's going to do that. So we don't want to be pitching on every email. So having mentioned all these, uh, so the core segment of any account-based marketing, what people miss out, right? People always try to get their ideal customer profile. They do the segmentation, they do account research. They come up with the messaging and unique positioning. Most companies do the first three. What companies miss is a fourth and fifth, and especially the fourth, the engagement campaigns. That's where people miss out, and people lose patience. Right? They don't want to engage people. They want to start pitching too early. So if people engage in few emails, then immediately they think, okay, they are interested. Let me start pitching them. So that's not the way to pitch them. You engage with them, see if they've reached a certain threshold, meaning how much content they are consuming, how engaged they are, what kind of content they are consuming. Create a content hub, see their analytics, what is happening. Then you start a separate playbook, ABM playbook, and try to set up collaborative sessions with, and that's how you start interacting, starting to develop a relationship with them. Right? And before that, if you keep doing, if you start pitching and if you keep trying to sell to people, and nobody is going to buy it. So if you see this, why MQLs don't convert to sale, with the if you see the stages on a typical B2B buyer, on the outside, you see there's a lot of activities that keeps happening. There's community building, there is content hub, there's LinkedIn groups and podcasts and guest posts, and people basically you want to be offering solutions to problems here, and people don't want to buy from you at this stage. The reason being, there's a very low brand awareness here. Then you come to the engagement campaigns, which is the warm up campaigns. There we can start running small sprint campaigns. We can do collaborative webinars. Invite your prospects for webinars. Do some market research along with your prospects. Do some white papers. Do run some quizzes. Run some assessments. Send some gifts. Do some collaborations. So those kind of engagements, and people would love to engage with you. And don't pitch here again. We don't want to pitch them again at this stage. Then comes the ABM activations. Uh, Start running small ABM playbooks, which would be something like inviting them to be a guest on the podcast, or inviting them for a virtual event, something like that. So run some ABM playbooks there. Then at that stage, you would be good in developing relationship. You already have a good relationship there. So at that stage, I have a lot of companies right now, who say, "Hey Prakash, I've been seeing your content a lot. Not just me, my entire team is a big fan of your content. I keep hearing this a lot, recently from my LinkedIn inboxes. Why? Because I never sold to them, but the entire buying committee members, they've been seeing my content, they've been looking at my emails, they're on following me on LinkedIn. So everybody likes to consume the content. So they are highly engaged. They are highly the relationship building. So now there's a good relationship building. So now when I start inviting them for some sessions, they would love to participate in those sessions. And this effort took me some time to get to that ABM playbooks. It took at least 2 quarters for me to get to that, from demand gen to activations. So if I invite them while doing demand gen, I don't think they would agree to come on a webinar with me, because the brand awareness is so low. But during the activation stage, when I invite people, they would love to come, share their insights. Then the relationship goes to the next level. At this stage is when we start pitching, start running your ads, Start sending your case studies, your testimonials. Invite people. If it's a product, invite people for a PLG, product led growth. So if it's a services, ask feedbacks, run some good interactive sessions with them. To start with LinkedIn ads, some basic LinkedIn ads. You can even start with just like $1,000, and do a cold outreach, and then run retargeting ads for like $500. Start with that, and then see, you can slowly scale up those efforts. That is when people will start buying from you. That is where the real uh, that is where you have the magic wand, with you at that stage. It's not at the demand gen stage. And in that yellow circle, where you see the demand capture, when you start doing that, then you see your win rates to start increasing more also. Whereas if you start pitching on the green, where the demand gen, your win rates is going to be very less, or people would not care to talk to you. So the final slide, as you can see, this is a template. You can treat it as a template, or the entire buyer journey, or how a B2B sale happens, right? Basically, when on the engagement campaigns, you try to run collaborative webinars, polls, assessments, create research interviews, invite people for podcasts. And on the activations, you run your ABM playbooks, LinkedIn ads, email nurturing, retargeting ads. So if without the engagement campaigns, if you do activations, then things may not work properly. That's when you see the leads that don't convert. Then you also have the intent data, yeah, the personalized email outreach. Use all the data to leverage. As Subhanjan was mentioning, buying an expensive tech stack, without doing any of all these engagements or activations, it's not going to help us in any way, right? So you can spend money on expensive technology stack, but what's the point in using it without having an engaged audience, right? Some people go to if you have the budgets, you can even do regular events. You don't have to be live events. It don't have to be like a field events. It can even be virtual events, live sessions like how we are doing right now. One which we do right now is also a live session. So some sessions like these, invite your guest, or get interviewed on podcast. Sometimes you can get interviewed on relevant podcasts which your audience may want to hear. If they're into healthcare, you can find out podcasts which are specialized for healthcare, and go get interviewed on those podcasts. Some companies even try to build a community and invite people to be part of the community. So these are all uh, some extended things you can do, for engaging people. And definitely it works, and people convert. We may not be able to attribute, like people, CXOs fall back and say, I don't want to do this, because most of these are not attributed from a software. It lies low, and they're not able to track the ROI directly. But right now, there are a lot of softwares that has come to track even your first interaction to the last interactions. And you can also manually ask people to fill a field on, ask them manually how they hear from you. So, and you'll be surprised to see, how people convert faster when you do the engagement campaigns and then do your nurturing or conversions. You'll be surprised to see your win rates increasing higher. You know. You'll be surprised to see your pipeline velocity increasing also. See, pipeline velocity is basically the dollar value that is moving across your pipeline each month. So you will also see a good increase on that. Thank you. I believe I that should be all from me. Any questions? I'm open to take up, Sumanjan.
Hey, thanks, Prakash. I think that was great. And uh, one question, there are actually a couple of questions, so I'll pose them to you. The first one is
Sure.
about what types of companies are best suited for uh, account-based marketing approach? What actually the question is that if I'm selling a low-value product, which is like a couple of $1,000s, is a ABM kind of approach the appropriate approach, or what
Yes,
should
I
be the
get it.
size to make it make to justify?
Yes. So ABM is not for all. ABM is, there are a few criteria you want to check. Basically, your ACV, you want to have your ACV at least 30,000 US dollars, at least. But we recommend 30 to 50,000 at least to start with, so that you get your so because you're going to put a lot of efforts on events, on podcast, on ads, on all these activities, right? And all the technology is also going to come at a cost. Each technology comes at a cost. The CRMs, the enablement tools, your other tools, your buying data. So even Zoom Info tools like Zoom Info, Lintels are all expensive. So each of the tools are comes at 10 or $15,000 on an annual subscription. To create Content Hub, you need a tool. To create to have sales enablement with the team, you need to have a tool. To do some gifting, you need to have a tool. So every tool comes at a cost. So your cost would be justified only if you have around 30 to at least the bare minimum of 30,000 USD on an average ACV. That is one. Other also, it may not suit for small time SaaS players who are selling like $50 or $100 products. It may not suit them, and it will be best if you have multiple decision makers, like a buying committee, right? Instead of I believe most of the B2B decision making happens in a buying committee these days, but it's best to have a buying committee decision makers. And if you have that kind of a clients, uh, then account based marketing works best for you.
Okay, okay. The other question that we have is once, I mean, how do you go about finding the ICP? How do you define the appropriate ICP? And especially when you're talking of a buying committee, you are really talking of multiple stakeholders. Each would be a different persona actually, with different end objectives aligned with the overall objective, right? So, for instance, if you are selling a, a ERP solution to a company, you would the CFO will have a very different kind of expectation of outcome
Exactly.
vis-a-vis the CEO, vis-a-vis the head of production, and so on and so forth. So, how do you actually define a ICB, and how do you go about doing that in when you are doing a ABM kind of approach?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Actually, on a buying committee, you not just a buying committee. I would even have a special category of like say uh, the blockers, the account blockers, we call them. So who may, who might be, who is likely to go against the decision of a company if they're going to purchase your services or products. Have them also on your buying committee members. So the buying committee members, how we identify first. Uh, the starting point for that would be to talk to your best customers. You identify your top three best customers. Talk to your best customers first. See their journey, how they have come to you, why they came to you, why they didn't go to your competitors. Do some good interviews. I have a uh, my questionnaire also with me, and maybe I can share in the next time. So basically, you need to ask them what was the core problem they were facing. If they don't go with this particular service or product, what would they do otherwise, right? How their world would exist if not this. So before coming here, what were they doing, right? So normally, who is it helping? Who all it is helping? So we have a series of questions. So have a very good in-depth survey with your best customers to come up, with not just the ICP, but a detailed research on the account. How did they come? So that will help you create the demand triggers. right? So once you know the demand triggers, what is triggering them on the demand side, then it will help you not only draft your messaging in USP, but also help you identify what content pieces to create, right? So because a lot of people will not know what kind of content to create, so these demand triggers will help you identify what kind of content you need to create, and the format could be anything, but kind of problems you need to address. So I would start with having a detailed interview with your ICP.
And what if you're a new product, your value is still, I mean, a lot of this AI ML products that are coming out, especially which are dealing with large data sets, data analytics, which is sort of in vogue right now, um, and you are new, and you do not
So
have uh, the
yeah.
luxury of going and doing in-depth interviews. How do you approach it?
Yes, I get it. So if you're new in the market, you don't have any customers, you're a brand new SaaS product or a service company, you you just assume who would buy your product. Just connect with them on LinkedIn. Say you're having an interview. You're not going to sell anything. You just want to talk to them, understand something. It's for a research, and offer them some free lunch coupons. So people would love to have that. Say, we value your time, so I'd like to even offer you a free lunch. Can you join me for lunch? And I'm just going to ask you like 15-20 minutes, ask you some questions, and then that's about it. And then you prepare and ask them. You can start from there. You can identify, like, uh, this way you can talk to even more people. 5 or 10 people you choose and then talk to them. Even if 5 people turn up, then you have good information to start with. Have talk to them.
Okay, okay. What do you see is the biggest impediment when people get started with ABM? Is what kind of expectations do they have when they're starting off? Because typically, what I hear, not about ABM, but about any go-to-market strategy, is that how quickly do I see results? And ABM is
Exactly.
sort of antithesis of that approach. Uh, and this market is not a patient market, unfortunately. Everybody's chasing their quarterly numbers, right? Uh, a VP of sales has at best a tenure of 18 months. So everybody's in a rush. Uh,
Yes.
what do you see, and how do people react to this slightly long term view of the ABM process?
Exactly. This the very common question. A lot of my prospects ask me the very first thing they sign up, or just before they sign up. When do we see the results? What do we see in 90 days, 30 days? What can we see? So answer to all of that would be to change your metrics first. Have your mindset to change the measuring metrics. You don't want to rely on MQLs, right? So we as an agency can always say, okay, fine. Each month we'll give you 100 MQLs. So and we'll charge you X amount per MQL. Easily we can do it, and most agencies do that. And have you seen across the world, you have agencies who you give them any number, they promise to deliver that number to you and say, okay, fine, we'll get you X number of meetings, we'll get you X number of MQLs, no problem, all done deal. Pay me $10,000, pay me this much for this, that. So people are ready to do that. But eventually, what companies do is, once that happens and once they talk to these people, how many of those meetings converted to sales? And we ask them, none, not even one convert. Is very rare. If they are lucky, few conversions happen, but most of the time they don't see any conversions there. The reason being, MQL is largely a misused term right now in B2B. MQL is primarily is being formed as a just a contact information, with your ideal buyer, contact information of your ideal buyer. That's all, nothing more than that. And they don't have any intent to buy. May have an intent to buy. You're just throwing your stone on the air, and if something comes up, you're just going to hit on it. So that's basically not it. So we tell people or customers, you basically want to change your measuring metrics. Don't rely on MQLs. Instead, start focusing on win rates. What is your current win rate? calculate. We help them calculate their current pipeline velocity and say, okay, uh, today your pipeline velocity is $16,000 or $18,000. Okay, uh, let's target to double your pipeline velocity in 3 months or 6 months, and then let's target to increase your don't focus too much on MQLs, but instead of that, increase your engagement an X amount. Once the MQLs increase by X amount, right, then the pipeline velocity should increase. So then we work on different metrics like that. So MQLs, instead of MQLs, the SQLs, sales qualified leads. Then we also have another metric called SAL, which we primarily want to give to our prospects, which means sales accepted leads. That simply means those leads only if the sales will accept and say, okay, fine, these prospects have explicit interest. Yes, they want to buy. We are moving to the next stage. Now we start the proposal. Now it is going to the next stage, basically. After that, it is converting or not converting. It depends on the SDR's skills and the company, what they have to offer, right? But we call that as sales accepted lead. So then, how much is your sales accepted leads? So we try to see, and we want to see what are those values currently, and how much should we project and take it. So that way, it's more convincing to the management. It's more convincing to the CXOs as well as the marketers. They say, okay, yeah, this makes better sense. Rather than saying, we'll generate X number of leads each month or each quarter, say, okay, change the metrics and things will work.
Yeah, great answers. I think people will have some takeaways from what you just shared, uh, especially if they're looking at having conversations which will be meaningful and are likely to move towards some kind of a closure. Instead of having lots of efforts to do lots of interactions with people who have no interest whatsoever to actually engage and purchase a product that one is selling. Prakash, thank you very much, and I appreciate your taking the time again. And I will slowly get into my session, and then we can chat about it if you have some thoughts. Okay.
Sure, please.
So to quickly talk about me, uh, I am a value transaction enthusiast. A fancy way of saying that I believe a sale is a two-way process, and any discussion that does not bring in the buyer is likely to fail. Okay, uh, or give very low returns. I'm also the founder of PitchLink. I have built digital products in the past, and I hold 3 US patents for my work earlier. I also host 3 podcasts. One that is currently you should be following is Bits About Books. I just released an episode with Mark Boundy on a very interesting book called Radical Value. It's really a great conversation. You should check it out. And that sort of brings me to my session. So let me get started. Okay. Wrong window. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. So you already met Om Prakash. So this is our third session, and I am Shubhanjan. So let's dive in. What's really wrong with the conversion rate in B2B sales. So I'm really cutting to the chase. I want to start with the end so that what I say about the beginning makes sense to you. Forrester, Gartner, McKinsey, you look at any research currently, and it will tell you that a B2B conversion rate, which is lead to close, is less than 5%. Forrester actually says it's 1.8%. When I talk to companies, there are companies who claim 10% conversion. It's true. But these are outliers. You can look at your own company and judge and tell me whether your number is somewhere close by. 90%, I would not say 99 because that sounds a little exaggerated always, even if it is true. 90% of the companies would say it is around this. It is less than 5%. So if you think about it, just stop and stand back and think about it. Any exercise, anything that we do in our lives, if the success rate is less than 5%, I mean, I'll not go into those exaggerated, examples of saying, imagine if only 5% aircraft that took off landed eventually. I mean, these are really very vivid kind of images. That's not what I'm saying. But anything that we do, a 5% success rate is abysmal. Yet, the B2B selling community, the leaders, the sellers, and make no mistake, there are like few million. And when I say few, it is not really few. It's like 20 to 30 million salespeople out there who are trying to do B2B sales. A big chunk of that is in North America, everywhere. And they are looking at a success rate of less than 5%. And that's a problem. It's the elephant in the room that is staring us in the face, and we are just sort of ignoring it. And we are saying, how do we stick to this 5%? Can we do more calls? Can we do more emails? I mean, you just go to LinkedIn today and see how many people are talking of cold email. And there are people who swear by it. I know a lot of them. They're great guys. But cold email and doing more cold email and the ability to do more cold email or more cold calls is not going to solve this problem. There will be outlier stories. I mean, there will be stories which will say, okay, I'm going 30% solution. I mean, 30% conversion and 20% conversion and this and that. And by the way, remember, cold call, cold email is the starting, right? Which means you're essentially trying, the whole goal of cold call and cold mail is to get a meeting, which is what Om Prakash was talking about. You may get the meeting, but what is the quality of that meeting? Whereby the final number still remains under 5%. So it's a big problem. And we are extremely slow in evaluating or changing our outreach pattern. And you can see that. When people are still advocating for cold, oh, it works for me. Oh, it worked for me. I did this every day. Consistency. Of course, consistency is very vital for anything. No two ways about it. And I'm not here to say cold email doesn't work. I was talking to somebody yesterday, a career SDR, working with a sales technology sales services company, and the discussion actually was like this: that can you walk from New York to San Francisco? Of course you can. Will you walk from New York to San Francisco? No, because it's inefficient. It's as simple as that. Everything works up to a point. Nothing is zero. Like Om Prakash said, if you keep calling 100 people, keep reaching out to 100 people, maybe one will convert. Yeah, possible. And maybe you will say, okay, in that case, if I convert 1 or 2 for every 100, okay, I'll go to that company which can give me those kind of 100 MQLs, and I'll keep doing that, and this too is fine. I mean, if it works for you, great. But for most, it's a lot of work for actually very little result. And the point is, when we are meeting focused, we are losing the objective. The objective is not to meet more people. The objective is to meet people eventually who are most likely to consume what I have to offer, most likely to benefit from the value I have on offer. And if you look at your pipeline, if you look at your CRM, if you look at how your Om Prakash used an interesting word called deal velocity, how things are moving, you will see that we are chasing leads who are never going to buy for too long. We keep attempting, we keep trying to call. I mean, SDRs on an average make, I mean, if you're not using a robocaller, SDRs are basically typically making 70 calls a day. I mean, there are people who say they make 100 calls, but essentially uh, 70, 80 calls a day, and they get 8 or 10 lifts. Lifts, that means somebody picks up the phone. So 80 or 70 out of those, no response at all. You're just calling, which means you don't get them today, they move to tomorrow. You call them again tomorrow, and they still don't lift. Just imagine how much time we're spending. And out of this 8 or 10 lifts, 5 of them will straight away say, have no interest in what you're trying to give me. Of the balance 5, maybe 2 will agree to a meeting. Of the 2 who will agree to a meeting, for every 5 or 7 who agree to a meeting, maybe 1 will convert. So just now do the math. That's it. That is the crux of the problem. So, if you remember in the introduction, I said I'll come back to this when we are talking about closing. Closing is not your problem. It's the beginning, the starting. That is the problem. Because buyers are today, look, what value does a regular salesperson bring to the table? Earlier, they used to bring information. That was their USP, that they're going to multiple people, they're meeting multiple people, they bring in information. Hey, your competition is doing this, so that's a new machine, or that's a new technology. Now they just can't beat the internet. Like in everything else, internet has disintermediated this role of information carrier from everybody. It's not only salespeople. Anybody who is to survive by supplying information is out of business, including newspapers, which had hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. They have vanished because nobody reads the newspaper for news anymore. Again, when I say nobody, discount it a bit. Okay, I'm just trying to make a point. Buyers are not looking at engaging with a salesperson. Gartner has said that today the salesperson has to be a sense maker because it's too much of information overload, and we can talk about that another day. And it has some value in what Gartner is saying. Too much of information, somebody has to help navigate. Even then, the data is showing, and Gartner data again, that buyers are spending in a buying cycle. This is not out of the buying cycle. This data is about buying cycle. Gartner is saying buyers are spending less than 17% of their time with salespeople. The balance 83% of the time goes in their own research, their internal discussion, n number of things. We'll not go there. But let's stick to the 17% number. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that if you are a vendor in a particular, say you're selling ERP and somebody's trying to buy ERP, so they're spending 17% of their time with vendors. You are not the only person. They're possibly talking to 5 vendors. So this 17% of the time is divided between 5 or 6 or 7 people. So some people will come in, initially spend time, they'll be eliminated, then some people will move through, and so on and so forth. Essentially, you will get 2% of their time. That's it. So whatever sense making you have to do, whatever advisory role you have to play, whatever trusted advisor you have to be, you have to be in that 2%. That's your face time. You don't get any more time. Whatever you have to do it in those 2%. That is why I think today's session is so critical. And I'll go back to what Om Prakash was saying. building the relationship. He actually gave some example of his own relationship building and people coming to him. You're building yourself as an authority in a given space, and the ability to contextually connect with the customer's requirement, your knowledge, making an analytical presentation, not data. Your ability to analyze and present the data in an analytical form which contextually makes sense to the buyer is key. I want to talk a bit about LinkedIn. We are on LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn is the de facto go-to place. I mean, when Om Prakash is talking about building authority, posting, he's essentially talking about LinkedIn. He's not talking about other places. Same with us. I mean, we are all very active on LinkedIn. We put things, we present things, and so on and so forth. Let us see what's going on there. LinkedIn started as a recruitment platform in 2003, founded by Reid Hoffman, is part of the PayPal group. A lot of people call that the PayPal mafia. Elon Musk was part of that, Peter Thiel part of that. So these are like really successful guys. Reid Hoffman started LinkedIn, and that became the place where people used to come and post build their profiles. It's like a resume. So headhunters used to come there to scope out people and recruit. And recruitment was LinkedIn's revenue model as well. Now, what happened was 6-7 years down the line, they figured, and this is the time around 2008, 2007, 2008, Facebook boom was happening, MySpace went down, so this social media boom, Twitter coming out, all this is going on, right? So LinkedIn figured that how often does a man apply for a job? Maybe once in a couple of years. So they are not really coming back once they have built their profile to the platform. There is no reason for them to come back. They only come back and update when they're looking for a job. So they had this idea that why not we also bring in user generated content. And they had a very interesting idea. They started what was called in 2012 the LinkedIn Influencers Program. And there's a reason I'm telling you all this. I'll get to that in a moment. LinkedIn Influencers Program enlisted about 500 very well-known people, including names like, of course, Reid Hoffman, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Arianna Huffington, and so on and so forth, who all agreed to write thought leadership kind of pieces in LinkedIn. So that became the hook first, and they started pushing that, promoting that, notifying people who are in the platform, hey, Bill Gates has published this, hey, Richard Branson has published this. So people started coming to read that stuff. Within a year and a half of that launch, they launched what is called LinkedIn Pulse. That does not exist anymore. So LinkedIn Pulse was when they opened up the LinkedIn platform for everybody to post. But the idea was, this is not where you come and talk about your dog or your cat and typically what was going on in Facebook, but this is more thought leadership. So people sort of, today, I mean, there are 830 million members on LinkedIn, people on LinkedIn, and quite a large number of them actually write. Of course, post-pandemic, there are some stuff that happened. A lot of personal stuff started coming on LinkedIn. A lot of people don't like it, but we'll not go there. But basically, what happened was that LinkedIn became a professional social platform, which is what their objective was. And people started coming back, looking at the feed and looking at content. What happened at this point is LinkedIn had to monetize this process, and they created Sales Navigator. That's where everybody goes to prospect. So they said, we can show you data of how many people are there, We can show you people who are in the decision making, in a company, because everybody was joining. I mean, very senior people were joining. Everybody was there. Uh, we will show you who has changed a job. So this is a great platform for sales. And Sales Navigator has a lot of pluses, and I'll not go into that. However, the point that I want to make is that people did not join LinkedIn to be pitched. Just keep this in mind. It's like you're in a coffee shop, you're a decision maker, and one sales guy who identifies you comes and corners you. It's like what you see when people go to celebrities having lunch for a selfie. They don't consider anything. They don't think that it's a privacy issue. This man is having, or this woman is having lunch with some friend, somebody. Hey, can I take a selfie? It's a very similar kind of mindset. Now that I've found you in a coffee shop, can I tell you about my product? That's what's going on in LinkedIn. And it is coming to a breaking point, according to me. But there's nothing you can do, because LinkedIn itself is encouraging that, because Sales Navigator and a lot of their advertising revenue, they have three core revenue sources: recruitment, Sales Navigator, and advertising. So two of the three, or I mean, maybe recruitment also has a bit of advertising, but mostly of the advertising is about sales. So what you have to keep in mind is you have to respect the buyer, the prospect, and give them ways to engage with you without the pressure of being hounded. That's what we do. Like Om Prakash said, can we connect? Okay, please connect. Next, here is a pitch. Right? We should think of a separate defined space to pitch to people, where they are not it's not sort of in your face. They have a way to say, look, I'm not interested, and politely disengage. We need to think about this, because starting well is the battle won, at least half won. And to start well, we have to give the space to the buyers to engage when and where they want and how they want. As I said, I mean, you need to provide a safe haven. We have a simple framework, which I'll go into, which is share, seek, support, solve. So essentially, start with sharing, which is what Om Prakash again said. Start with sharing, maybe at a generic level first, then at a specific level next. Start with sharing, then seek information. If they start giving you information, you know that they're going to engage. That's the indicator. But let them give you that information. You seek information, but give them the space to give it to you when they're ready. And then you support them to internally talk. This buying committee that Om Prakash spoke about, support them to be able to talk to the rest of the buying committee, bring them to the same page as you and that champion, or whoever you call it, whom you first engaged, are, and then solve together. Co-solving is the key. We do not know, no matter who we are, we do not know the intricacies of the business of our customer. So basically, this is the framework. Share data analysis and forecast, seek inside information on key challenges, support decision making process, and solve or resolve or co-solve. If we can do the identifying, like Om Prakash said in the beginning, correctly, and if we can start a conversation with where the customer willingly starts engaging with us, our conversion will dramatically change. But that's the key. I think I am done. Any thoughts? Anything, Om Prakash?
Yeah, it was a wonderful session, Subhanjan. Actually, you nailed it well. Actually, the story of LinkedIn, the few things even I was not aware of. Actually, it was how LinkedIn is evolved right now. And your point, you made a point, right? People didn't sign up to LinkedIn to be pitched. That's the right thing, right? Nobody signed up thinking, okay, we'll wait for pitches to come. People are here to network and learn. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. It's not that people are not looking for buying. It's just that they they don't come. It's like when you go to a mall, you're going to buy,
Correct.
right? When you're going to a library or a coffee shop, you're not going to buy.
Correct.
You're going to network or you're going to read books. So we have different. Mentally, we engage differently at different places at different times. It cannot be that my inbox is open for all to just keep sending me stuff, cold email, because they want to land on my inbox. Why? I didn't ask for it,
Absolutely. Correct.
right?
Yes.
Similarly, my phone. I mean, and there are serious. I mean, I even today I read something on LinkedIn where somebody received a text message at 4 a.m. from somebody pitching something,
Okay. Right.
right? I mean, I'm just saying that, and FCC is coming up with a very strict legislation which will ban this. I mean, that's not the point. Point is that we are trying to say, okay, if they ban this, then let's do that way, right? So I think we need to
Yes.
step back from this mindset and say, what is the best way to engage with somebody with whatever we have to offer. Anyway, I think we'll get into a repeat zone after this. But thank you very much, Prakash. I have to do the customary thank you note for you. Okay.
Thank you.
I want to thank Om Prakash for sharing his thoughts and all of you for making it to this session. We intend to do two such every month. The next one is on 29th of March, and our guest expert is Georgiadis, founder of Happier Leads. We will send you a mail with the details. Thank you and wish you all value conversations with your prospects. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Subhanjan. Thank you for inviting me.